Yeah, I really like what the Jets did with Aaron Glenn. I don't know why he just gives me like that Dan Campbell vibe where like I don't know why. It just first of all he was drafted by the Jets.
Yeah.
And he played for the Jets, so I feel like that's a good way to build some, I guess, chemistry with the players quickly. And he just kind of comes across as a guy that you'd want to play hard for. When the Lions were suffering all those injuries on defense, they lived by next man up. And I mean, I know they weren't great, but for all the injuries they had, I mean, they did pretty good, I would say. And you know, a lot of teams they say next man up, but it just felt like they lived by that philosophy. I just feel like a lot of those players on the Jets, even though their QB situation isn't great at the moment,
It's beyond a situation. It's a disaster.
but I feel like the players would be willing to run through a wall for him. So
They will.
I really like that hire.
I did too. I wanted him to go to the Saints originally, but once I heard he was going to the Jets, I'm like, all right, he's got some talent there. He can do it. And I watched a lot of videos on him, and he's exactly the kind. I think he's going to be the best coaching hire of the past 10 years. I think he's going to be a better coach than Dan Campbell, and I don't think Dan Campbell is that great of a coach when it comes to scheming and X's and O's and making plays when it matters. I think he's too aggressive, and that's not just coming as a Packer fan. That's just coming as a football viewer. I think we're going to be in for a show this next season with how much of a brain drain that happened with the Lions coaching room, because they also lost their one guy that was making them a contender, which was Ben Johnson and his amazing offensive schemes that royally pissed us off as Packer fans, because they were always doing something that was like, I didn't know that was a thing, but they did it. They got it. And it's just like, let me find it quick. I got a note here. So would you like to know the kind of brain drain the Lions have?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, so they lost their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. They lost defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn. They lost their pass game coordinator, Tanner Engstrand, who's now the Jets offensive coordinator. You have their defensive line coach, Terrell Williams, who's now the Patriots defensive coordinator. You have the wide receiver coach, Antoine Randall L., who's now the Bears assistant coach and wide receivers coach. You have the assistant quarterbacks coach, JT Barrett, who's now the Bears quarterback coach. And you have the tight ends coach, Steve Hayden, who's now the Jets O-line coach. Like, all these important coaches, gone. They got picked off by Glenn and Johnson. They took them with. They're like, except Terrell Williams. Mike Vrabel saw that guy. He's like, you're my kind of guy.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, the Lions season's going to be interesting. We'll see you know what Dan Campbell can do with a new basically a whole entire new crew with him. But
and who is he going to promote? I don't know if he already promoted someone or not, but who was there to promote on the offensive side of the ball that could replace Ben Johnson? Because they took them all.
Oh.
They took everyone.
Yeah, and I think a guy like Ben Johnson's kind of irreplaceable.
They have a roster deep enough to keep them competitive, but who are their coaches going to be? Who's going to be? How good are they going to be in these new systems? We don't know.
Yep.
How good is Jared Goff really going to be without Ben Johnson? Like, really, how good are any of them going to be without these guys that made them what they are? So they're on my copium because of that. Not because I'm a Packers fan, just because what do they have that's going to lead them to the way other than talent? I think they're potentially going to start falling apart here in the next couple of years without good coaches.